Hello everyone, WolfheartFPS here, and I'm going to be presenting to you this month's development update for Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon. And my oh my, we have a lot of great things to go over today. The devs have clearly been hard at work, and I've actually been given access to the gameplay testing arena to help show off a few of these updates. I've been having way too much fun in here. So let's go ahead and start right off with the major update to the game's Prologue section, which also acts as the tutorial for the game. And this area has been entirely rebuilt, and that goes for both the jail and the weirdness section. In the jail, you'll quickly find plenty of new hallways, numerous new cells, some of which actually have new NPCs that are barely alive within that will speak with you. There's new rooms, more guards, new opponents such as this gigantic stone giant boss. And there's even some secret underground passages that will allow you to traverse the jail in a much less linear feeling fashion, which is much appreciated. The weirdness area is also much larger now, much more visually appealing, and much more interesting overall. As you progress, you'll be watching scenes from the past play out, giving you some insight into the story and the lore.
I remember arriving on the shores of Avalon. It was the beginning of everything. But there were doubts and questions. What does it feel like to leave your homeland behind?
And this is where you'll actually meet King Arthur himself, but more on that in a little bit. While on the topic of areas being rebuilt, let's go ahead and quickly teleport over to the Keep, which is the hub-like area for the Chapter 1 map, Horns of the South. The Keep is, of course, where you'll get the majority of your more major quests from very important NPCs. There's several vendors here. And as you can see, as I walk through the gates right now, we have a very different layout of the Keep. I would personally say a much better, more interesting, and more practical layout now. And you'll easily notice a ton of improvements and attention to detail with the trees, the vines, the lighting, etc. Walking up to Excalibur right now, this is a good time to bring up the major changes and updates to this game's main storyline. So right away in the prologue of the game, you'll now learn that King Arthur is your passenger. So while that may have been a spoiler before, this is something that now starts off the foundation of the entire main storyline. Do note that the version of King Arthur that you're seeing right now in the prologue is still a work in progress, so expect improvements to his appearance, the text, etc. in future updates. Interestingly enough, you'll also be able to speak with Arthur when sitting at a bonfire, but this is still in development. Coming back to Excalibur in the Keep, when the game releases, players will actually be able to pick up Excalibur very soon after arriving in the Horns of the South. If one can figure out how to do that, that is. I'm not going to spoil that though. And also the captain's side quests at the Keep have all become optional. The general idea here with these major storyline changes is to make the main storyline less linear, giving you more freedom in how you approach and navigate it. On a similar subject, around 15 or so side quests in the Horns of the South have been rebuilt. Almost every quest has had at least some slight modifications. There's more quest lines that have been added to existing NPCs, and the devs have even added some fetch quests to the game. Some of you are probably saying, what the heck? Well, the idea here is to just offer a few more casual feeling quests where you don't have to necessarily fully invest your brain into them. Sometimes it is fun to just go out and kill some stuff and, get some XP and work on those proficiencies. All right, let's now get into a very popular topic, dungeons. So 10 new dungeons have been added to the Horns of the South, and the other remaining dungeons have received several improvements. Showing off a few of the dungeons right now, I'm currently in the Crypt Tower dungeon. Now I'm in the Urquhart Cave dungeon, the Diggers dungeon, which in version 1.0 you'll be able to find right up the path from where you'll spawn on the beach. And right here we have Dungeon Blood Lake, which is a dungeon currently in early access, but it's been reworked so heavily that it essentially feels like a brand new dungeon. Now some of the bosses in this game have also been reworked, with the Mistbearer boss fight being reworked from scratch. Minor spoiler warning here, as I'm going to show the Mistbearer fight just for a few seconds, so just close your eyes right now if you don't want to see that, and you can open them when you hear me speaking again. Heading into the gameplay testing arena, it's noteworthy to mention that the melee combat has been updated to work properly across all enemy tiers now. And weapons in general have received many balance changes in terms of their damage, stamina cost, etc. There are 10 new weapon models in the game and at least 10 variants of existing ones. There's also 50 new armor pieces. You can see that I have some cool ones in my God mode inventory right now with my insane encumbrance levels because I am using cheat codes. But let me also show you an armor piece from the game's Act 3 area, which is currently not even an area that you can access in early access. So if I spawn in some of these opponents right here and insta-kill them with my God mode skills, you'll see here that we have some additional Dal Riata armor that was made for the Forlorn Swords third region of the game. While we're here in the spawn area, check out some of these new enemies that have been added. There's at least 10 completely new ones. We have the Slime and the Whites, the Mistlings, the Swarm, the Melancholy, Mallory, the Furdad, Snails, Iceweave and Blood Abominations, and the Bone Masks, which come in variant forms such as melee, mage, and ranged. All enemies in this game have been rebalanced, and many have received improvements in terms of behaviors and animations. The devs have also currently nerfed ranged combat a bit to deal less raw damage, as bows were just way too powerful to all players, whether you were specified in ranged combat or not. Now, with that said, my character right here is in God cheat mode right now, as I have this awesome arcane bow and this really powerful power bow. But the idea behind the ranged nerf is to place more emphasis on investing into ability points, buying skills, and incentivizing players to actively search for better bows. Doing all of that combined with, having good player skill using a bow will allow you to become that amazing stealth archer that so many of us love playing as. Just don't expect that at the start of the game. Do note, though, that this is still something that is still very much in progress. Perhaps the biggest update, though, in terms of combat playstyle is to the magic system, which has been rebuilt from scratch to feel much more fluid and snappy now. The game now allows you to cast more spells on one mana bar, with casting speeds being increased. You can now use weaker magic much more often, similar to a martial weapon-focused character being able to do several quick light swings in a row with their swords or daggers. Many spells, in fact, now actually have two different options that you can utilize. For example, this Ember spell that I have right here, I can shoot off super quickly in a more rapid-like fire fashion. They feel almost like darts. Or I can charge up the spell, which takes more time, but in turn deals more fire damage. Also note, in terms of magic, the devs have currently scrapped summoning due to issues with the AI, but they may bring it back to the game in the future. They're not entirely sure yet. Other updates in terms of balance, attributes overall have been nerfed to make the game overall a bit more difficult. The devs do, however, understand that this is a controversial decision, so they will be taking in a lot of feedback from playtesters. Dozens of new skills have been added to choose from in the skill trees, specifically under the strength, dex, and endurance trees. For spirituality, perception, and practicality, for these trees, more skills will be added, but this is currently a work in progress. Proficiencies in this game have also been rebalanced, and proficiencies equal the more that you use something, the better you get at it. So the more that you sprint around or the more that you swim, the quicker that you'll get at sprinting and swimming, which is athletics. Or the more that you sneak, the better you'll become at sneaking, and so on. Statuses have also been rebalanced, so for example, you shouldn't be able to instantly freeze an opponent who's on a much higher level than your character anymore. And on a non-combat related note, the entire economy of the game has been rebalanced. This includes how much gold you'll find, how much items are worth at the vendors, etc. Okay, a few more categories to go over here, starting with crafting. So the logic behind all of the crafting systems has been updated to make more sense now. For example, you'll no longer need to go to the blacksmith in order to handcraft things. It's now enough to just approach the grindstone yourself. The UI of the crafting system has also been rebuilt, and this includes gear upgrading and relics. And perhaps the coolest update to crafting is that some of the enemy-themed armors in this game have been added and can be crafted, but only after getting a quest line from the blacksmith in the Horns of the South. This is said to be a regular theme of the blacksmith in the game. There's also several really great additions to the game. I'm going to save farming and the housing system for the next update. That will certainly be exciting, so stay tuned. But other additions include the map now having a Fog of War feature, so exploration is not spoiled for you. All of the houses in the Horns of the South now have interiors with NPCs operating on day and night cycles. guilds are being introduced to the game, and the idea behind these guilds is that they'll offer more content and quests, which open up new game endings, give more insights into the game lore, and also grant some unique gear and abilities, and more. A feature called Duels has been introduced, which allows a player to get into combat with an NPC without triggering crimes and other consequences. There's even fight clubs incoming, but more on that in a future update. And slowly but surely, more and more accessibility features are being added, such as UI color changes to help those with color vision deficiency or blindness. And the last category for this November update is the Weird Night. I'm really working on my pronunciation of weirdness and Weird Night. It's like it's not weird, but it's not word. It's in between both of them. But what happens during the night has been rebalanced, and there has been various improvements to related night systems. Ethereal cobwebs, which is an item that you currently use at bonfires, is slowly becoming more of an integral part of this game, and in time it will also be able to be used in crafting systems. There's also a taste of what the devs call the Weird Stalker that has been implemented, and basically you'll see someone stalking you in the night. In its current implementation, it's just mostly a jump scare, but in the full game, the Weird Stalker will be slowly walking towards you. Nighttime is still a work in progress overall though, so expect many improvements over time. And that will be it for this month's development update. We went over a lot today, but there's still a lot more to talk about. If you would like to support the game in its early access stages, it's currently available on the Steam and the GOG store. Just note that many of the updates in these update videos you won't see until version 1.0. I'll catch you all on the next one in December.